Right, okay. I think we'll kick off now, and I'll obviously have to admit any people who arrived late to the meeting. So thank you very much to everyone for coming. Warm welcome to you all, and thanks a lot for giving up your time for today's webinar. So we wanted to talk to you today about the exciting relaunch of our Polymotion Chat automated camera presenter tracking solution. Just to give you a bit of an order of play, we're going to talk to you a little bit about who we are as MRMC. We're going to talk to you a little bit more about the solution itself and go into some details about Polymotion Chat Studio and Broadcast. And then at the end, we're going to do a product demonstration that we're going to showcase. And before we will come back to you at the end, where you'll have the chance to basically ask any questions that you might have from the presentation that we are about to show you today. So just before we dive into the details of the product, just a quick overview of who we are to meet the team. So today you'll hear from Paddy Taylor, who heads up our broadcast division, Sasha Coons, who is our broadcast services director, who will be taking you through the demonstration later. Me, Dan Brooks, I'll be your host today, and Gilbert, who is our broadcast projects manager, who will be working a lot of the behind the scenes and showing you the videos that we're going to be playing today. So in terms of who we are, I'm sure many of you know, but for those who don't, we are Mark Roberts Motion Control. We're a Nikon-owned company, and we're a leading manufacturer of cutting-edge solutions for motion control. You've probably seen our Milo rigs and our Bolt Cinebots that operate in the TV, film, and commercial world. Our broadcast robotics division, where we have everything from heads and arms right the way through to full studio robots, as well as automated tracking presenter solutions and sports team solutions with our Polymotion Player product. Our volumetric capture division, where we have a volumetric mobile studio for the capture of 3D stills, avatar, and video. And we do everything really from live broadcast, film productions. We even have an e-commerce solutions division. And we basically offer the ability to capture our clients' visions through a suite of groundbreaking and innovative hardware and software. Company's been around for over 50 years. We were acquired by Nikon in 2016. And throughout the years, we've managed to win some pretty prestigious awards. We won an Oscar in 1999 for our Milo rig in the scientific and engineering category. We won a Queen's Award for International Trade and Enterprise back in 2017. And over the last year, we've scooped a number of industry awards for innovations across our camera robotics and our Polymotion stage products within Broadcast Tech Innovation Awards, SGV Europe Awards, and NAB Product of the Year. So that's a bit about us. So what I'm going to do now is just share a video with you, which gives you a bit more of an insight into who we are as MRMC and an overview of the company. I hope you enjoyed that video about MRMC. Now I'm going to hand you over to Paddy Taylor, who's going to give you some insight into Polymotion Chat Solution.
Great, thanks, Dan. And thank you again. My thanks to Dan's for everyone. We do appreciate your time. We know that you have other things to do, so thank you for making some time in your day today. I run the broadcast division. I'm going to sort of take you a little bit into the product and where it's come from and what it's about. I think it's important to understand that what we're talking about here is really cutting edge technology, but actually it's not new technology to us. We've been selling Polymotion Chat in one form or another for almost 3 years. So it is a well-established, reliable, very well tested solution. We have a number of customers that we're going to talk a little bit about during this that are using it today in many different types of applications. What we want to do to start off with is just share with you another video, I'm afraid, but it's a video that's publicly available that we can share with customers. And then from that, we'll go into a bit more detail about what the software is, what it's about, how it works, what sort of applications are. So I'm going to hand you over again to the video, and then we can talk a bit more about what the product can do.
Polymotion Chat is an automated subject tracking system for studios that can control up to 6 camera positions autonomously. Chat integrates with your existing studio system as well as all major broadcast cameras such as Sony, Grass Valley and Panasonic, and is compatible with most heads and PTZs. The system is also able to be operated fully remotely by a single operator. Whether your requirements are for the newsroom, sports desk, standing presenter formats, or magazine-style shows, Polymotion Chat can help streamline your workflow and provide crisp, in-focus, natural-looking shots. The user interface has been designed with simplicity in mind and allows the user to automate as much or as little of the shots as required. An operator always has manual control whenever they need. From aperture, zoom, focus, and framing, the manual capability of the UI to control each remote head is always at the fingertips of the operator. Things get interesting when you introduce motion. From a product presentation to a large studio space where a presenter moves around, advanced facial recognition and tracking in our UI handles things with ease. All of this whilst a sophisticated autofocus system keeps things sharp and distraction-free. Limits can also be set so that if the subject moves out of the studio space, the camera simply stops following and returns to its default position. The operator can even work with presets to quickly assemble the right look and feel of a specific scene. To create a preset, the operator simply creates a camera move, shot type, or set of tracking notes and pushes a single button to store all the information. It is then available instantly whenever needed. The system is simple, powerful, and is operated via touchscreen or joystick, depending on preference. And at any time, the operator can take control of the camera behavior. They have access to all the cameras at any time on the set via an easy-to-use interface. The software is also able to recognize multiple people and is configured to adapt to multiple subject tracking scenarios. For example, talk shows, news interviews, live presentations, and so much more. The advanced AI recognizes multiple people in a single frame easily. The interface offers a multitude of tracking controls that allows you to select either single person or multiple subjects for the shot. With the touch of a button, our operator can then switch between cameras on set from a simple grid view system, allowing for remote adjustments, both manual and automatic, for each shot. No matter where your broadcast takes place, from sports, news, house of worship, lectures, and other productions, Polymotion Chat can help drive your workflow efficiencies for your studio or production today.
Thanks for that. So hopefully that's been a useful introduction to the product. What I want to do now is give you a bit more detail and get you a bit into sort of the background of the product and what it's designed to do and how it works. So I think the first thing to understand is this is a machine vision based system. It works in a very different way to some of the other systems that are out there in the market, and we're obviously going to dive into the product in a bit more detail to give you a better overview of it. But the fundamental thing is to make it highly flexible, very easy to configure, and crucially and very importantly for us, able to drop into existing workflows. So it doesn't have to be something that you have to build a system around a tool. It's designed to be something that would go in. So I'd like to talk a bit about how it all connects together and sets up. So in this image, if you can see the next slide, please. So the idea here, and this is a really important thing for us, is that we have a dedicated system, but a system that is very open. So originally, when we designed Polymotion Chat, it was to augment, supplement, improve Mark Roberts' or MRMC robotic systems. So we're known for our large robotic systems and robotic heads. But very crucially and very importantly for this product, it's designed to be open. We can work with third-party robotic heads. We can work with third-party PTZ cameras, integrated PTZs. And we probably have a sort of 60-40 split between customers using PTZ and dedicated robotic systems. So it sits on top of that existing network. We can take everything straight through IP. So although this diagram is showing SDI video, we do accept NDI or RTSP or RTMP video streams. We take them into the server. So we normally are connected via the router, the matrix, taking a signal, and we are processing that video signal extremely quickly and sending the commands back to the system. In this example, we have one of our broadcast control panels, which is designed to be very easy and flexible to use. But again, the majority of customers would be using just the software touchscreen interface of the product. So the idea here is that we have a really simple to use interface that's open and designed for anyone essentially to be able to control the system. So the key for us is having something that is recognizable, easy for people to use, set up third-party systems do in terms of its control, so that fundamentally anyone can get in and start using it straight away. So I'm not actually seeing the PowerPoint come up on my screen at the moment, so if someone can help me from MRMC right, so we've got the interface, right. So again, you can see here we've got the controls on the right hand side. Maybe Sasha, if you could just take over and talk us through the interface for a second, please.
Absolutely. So the interface is designed really for touch screens or computer interfaces using keyboard and mouse, but also the compatible with our joystick panels. In this interface, you've got a preview, a video of the the view through the camera, as well as a list of cameras that you've got at the top, where you can select the cameras that you want to control in that particular motion. You've got full access control over your pan, tilt, zoom, focus, and iris, and either through velocity or positional control. And you also have the ability here to set presets for each of your cameras. So you can also use this to control pan tilt heads to create locked off shots, depending on the show that you're running. So you can have your full body shots, you can have a head and shoulders shot, and all of these within this interface, not only for MRMC robotics, but also for third-party PTZs and other robotic manufacturers, giving you a unified control interface for a robotized studio effectively. And it's, as I said, it's touchscreen compatible, so it makes it really easy and clear to use. And we have made it really simple, so removing the complexity that you sometimes find in robotic control systems. You have a lot of variety of options in there, some of them which we'll explain a little bit later and show you in our product demonstration.
Right, thank you very much.
Cool.
So I think it's important to understand the different versions we've have of the product. So I mentioned before it's been around for about 3 years. Are you hearing an echo from me?
No, we're not. But Paddy, I think we're having some technical issue with you. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take everybody through the 3 levels of the software. Polymotion Chat has existed for a number of years, as Paddy has mentioned. And we have actually now responded to the market. We've had real good success with it, with studio applications. But we've also found that a lot of customers in houses of worship, universities and lecture halls want to use it and are using it with their PTZs. So we've created a product here called Polymotion Chat Pro, which sits underneath Polymotion Chat Studio, which is what we'll be demonstrating a little bit later to you today. And for the larger broadcast studios that are using Polymotion Chat and our control software for larger robotics and articulated arms and complex systems, we have Polymotion Chat Broadcast. And we'll come back to that at another day. Today, within Polymotion Studio, we're going to show you how to use Studio to enhance your studio shows, whether that's your news show, weather show, or a sports commentary show, or any of the other professionally designed and run studio-based shows with automated presenter tracking to enhance your capabilities, add subtle motion, and create a system that's flexible, and you have better efficiencies using the automation layer.
Okay, so apologies, I was having a small technical issue which has been resolved. But just to give you a bit more sort of information on the way the product sort of comes together. So we've got the 3 levels. I think the crucial bit here to understand with Polymotion Chat Studio is this is the version that we've been selling primarily. It's been used by customers in all different types of applications, from broadcast studios with tier 1 broadcasters through to small production spaces, even companies running it in sort of live event type scenarios. We've been selling it as a turnkey, so you buy it as a complete system with a server. It can control up to 6 cameras, so that means 6 independent people being tracked by 6 different cameras, plus the option of having lots of different types of framing shots, so we'll talk a bit more about that. And again, we've got some really smart machine vision features, which are totally unique. Nobody has this type of technology elsewhere on the market. So we know we have an extremely strong product proposition. We have another tier of it, again, as Sasha was mentioning, which is Polymotion Chat Broadcast. And Polymotion Chat Broadcast really combines for your more complex style robotics. So, primarily what we've been talking about with Polymotion Chat Studio is simple pan tilt heads, be an integrated PTZ camera or one of our or a third-party robotic head with a studio or cine style camera on it. In this case, what we're able to do is to create complex sequences or journeys around a studio. So we could have rail track-based robotic systems. We could have a robotic arm, obviously, that's what Mark Roberts is best known for. And you may want to create, different presets and sequences, around your studio. But at the same time, you want to know that whenever you do that, if your presenter moves off center or goes off script, that they're always going to be framed correctly. and the auto framing and auto tracking capabilities of the system are designed to do that. And crucially, the system is designed to augment that type of application. So we've got some really smart features like dedicated presenter profiles. The system will recognize the presenter and the environment that it's working in and load the presets for that. So, some of the tasks that the operator normally to do, basic housekeeping, is managed from the system. It also integrates the studio automation system. So if a customer wants to use it alongside, I don't know, Mossart or Grass Valley Ignite or Ross Overdrive, or pretty much any of the sort of industry standard studio automation systems, it can be used in that configuration. We have customers that do that, and the presets can be recalled using the studio automation system, but with Polymotion Chat Broadcast doing the final access control. So no matter what happens in terms of your talent or your guests in your chat show, whatever it happens to be, they're going to be in frame, ready for the shot that the director's calling off. In a normal world, if we didn't have COVID upon us, probably what we'd have done at this point is face-to-face, brought you into a studio somewhere around the world that's using Polymotion Chat already. Obviously, that's not possible. So what we did is we took the time to actually go to one of our customers that uses it, a customer called London Live here in the UK, and we shot a presentation video for you. So the idea is this is actually a proper demonstration of the product. But before we go into that, you may have noticed that my colleague Sasha, as he was talking, isn't sitting down. He's actually currently using a Panasonic PTZ camera as a webcam. And it is currently tracking him. So, we are going to use this video to demonstrate the product from a proper studio environment, but just to prove that it's real and it works, actually that camera feed that you're seeing at the moment, all the movement from that is entirely automated. So we'll play this video now, and then we'll have a chance to answer any questions once you've had a chance to view it.
Welcome to London Live. My name is Sasha. I work with MRMC, and I'm going to give you a demonstration and overview of Polymotion Chat Studio. Polymotion Chat Studio is our camera automation software. It allows you to automatically track your presenter on stage or in a studio and add subtle or fast camera motion automatically without you having to worry about the framing. And I'm going to show you how that operates, some of the features, and how it integrates with our MHC or multi-head controller software that we use to control robotic studio cameras. We support MRMC manufactured robots such as the AFC, and also third-party PTZ heads by companies such as Panasonic, Sony, BirdDog, PTZ Optics, and many more, and also MRMC Studio Bots. I'm going to take you through the software, explain to you how the automation works and some of the capabilities, including its auto framing and limb detection capabilities and what that means for the production. The software is really useful in scenarios where you have news shows, weather shows, or any other chat show, for example. And I will show you how it works in a seated environment too, not just walking around like I'm doing now. I'm going to take you through the interface and give you an understanding of the signal paths involved and also the remote operations capability. All right, let's get started. Let's bring up the interface. So here we have MHC, which is our software for controlling the robotics. This allows you to add and control manually 12 cameras at one time. A number of them can be automated using Polymotion Chat Studio, and you can see them up above there. So manually, we can add up to 12, and up to 6, depending on the server configuration, can be tracking at any given time. So, as with any studio or with robotics, we can create and recall presets. Those are in banks along the side. We have 8 here that are visible, but we can also switch to further panes. So we have A, B, C, and D, allowing you to set up to 32 presets for each camera. This is particularly practical when you have a number of shows. Maybe you have a morning news show where you have a set of presets, and an afternoon talk show in the same studio. So this is really useful in that respect. You have full manual control over your lens, with focus and zoom, and velocity control, as well as positional control. And you also can control the iris if that's supported on the lens. You also have manual control. There's a joystick in the bottom left-hand corner or right-hand corner of the screen. That allows you to use a touchscreen interface to reposition and frame up the shots that you would like. You can also use a control panel or even a joystick gamepad controller. And we manufacture a number of them, but we also support some third-party units. All right. You can switch easily between the cameras or even see a multi-view. So normally we start with this, see the views of each of the cameras that we have set up in the studio. Not all of them are necessarily focused on me right now, and not all of them are tracking. We have a static shot, and we have 2 that are tracking, so you can see that. And we can go through these and change some of the settings. So let's do that. Let's pick a camera, click through. So now we're in that view. And currently we're in a tracking mode called normal. So you can see the tracking modes right here. So here we have a half body shot, which allows us to frame the body based on the limb recognition data that we've got with the computer vision. As you can see, the system is drawing a skeletal model over me using the yellow dots and the black lines. This is the computer vision engine detecting me as a person rather than just my face or the outline of my shape, meaning it can track in all scenarios, even when my face isn't visible. For example, if I'm turning around to present something on the screen, it doesn't lose tracking. It still knows where I am, such as a weather girl and so on. So these scenarios are all catered for. Or maybe I'm sitting at a desk in an evening news show reading the headlines for tomorrow's papers, something which I've seen happen. The presenter covers his face with the newspaper. Tracking isn't lost because we still know where the person is. And these are some of the advantages of using a limb detection model rather than just facial recognition. And that's what really sets us apart and puts us above the competition. All right, so using that same information, we can do the automatic framing. We can detect where my upper body is and then create those half body shots. So when I come closer to the camera, it will maintain that and adjust the zoom automatically. So I'm going to come a bit closer and it will zoom out. And if I move away, it will zoom in and try to maintain that focus. As you can see here, you can see that zoom slider moving down there. I can also lower the sensitivity if I notice that the camera is moving around a little bit too much. Sometimes the presenter is moving quite slowly, so you can lower that sensitivity. And you can see that in the bottom left-hand corner there. I can make it quite fast now. So it follows up with me. Or I can make it quite slow and steady depending on the speed of your presenter. And that really gives you the flexibility to create the type of movement that you want for your show, that you want for your news production, and to create the sense that you like to convey to the audience. All right, so we can also integrate very easily with on-screen graphics. As you can see here, we have an area of interest where the, you see this circle. So that's where the robot or the software will try to move the robot to and keep me in that shot. However, in this case right now, I have a screen to my right-hand side or on screen left. And I'd like to have some space for that screen to show fully. So I can just reposition where the software should position me in the screen so that that screen, is visible. That allows you to put graphics there, a weather chart, a sports graphic, an analysis feed, whichever, and you can do that virtually. Polymotion Chat Studio also supports 3D data out. So that integrates very well with your graphics engines, and you can get the positional information from the robots to put AR graphics into the production. So talking about your production workflow, it integrates really nicely with existing studio workflows and doesn't upset what you have in view already. All we require is an NDI feed, an RTSP feed, or a copy of your SDI feed out of your matrix or router into our software. We ingest this and generate the previews in our software, and also use that to create the limb recognition data, and then pass that information back to the robot over an IP connection to allow you to move the robots. And the entire system is IP-based, meaning that all the robotics are Ethernet controlled. The software talks to the server running on our hardware via IP, meaning you can actually set the system up for true remote production. The server can be on site in your studio, whereas your operator can be situated remotely. The software and the AI do the hard lifting for you. They do the heavy work, the grunt work, keeping the presenter in frame. And your operator being remote, be that in the centralized control room or sometimes even from home. Certain situations currently necessitate that. And you can operate this from anywhere in the world as long as you have access to that IP address, allowing you to have that flexibility and still maintaining production quality. You can also have a server client or with multiple users set up, meaning that the same cameras can be accessed by multiple users across the network, allowing other people to take care of 4 robots while somebody else is looking at other 3 that are connected to the same system, giving you that flexibility to change the system as you see fit and whatever suits your need in the studio. It is really designed for that professional broadcaster who has, who's running a studio. All right. Here we see us going through another preset creation process, again with capturing the previews and setting the tracking mode. There you go, that's configured. So you can do all of this on the fly while the system is still operating. Again, making the shot that you require available at a moment's notice. And the robots continue to track whether you're on them or not. All right, so we had the tracking sensitivity. We've looked at the multi-view. You have a emergency stop option if you wanted to stop all. That's right there. Safety is really, really key whenever something is moving on its own. So that does work. And as you can see on the top left-hand side there, or right-hand side, there is the stop button. Cool. Now, we've talked about automation. We've talked about limb recognition. And we have talked a little bit about manual control. Polymotion Chat Studio really gives you flexibility in all aspects. And we have some of the settings here. Every operator has a preference to how far they want their system, how fast they would like the system to operate. And these settings can all be changed. So we have here the preference pane. Within this, you can adjust the speed of each axis for manual control so that it really feels natural to each operator if they're using a joystick panel or touch screen or even presets on how fast that motion happens. And this can be saved from user to user. And you can even set limits on, so that the pan action or tilt action doesn't break your studio boundaries. And this is really, really important so that you maintain the shot and have security and confidence in the shot that you're using. We have advanced controls over lenses, so you can use, Fuji or Canon lenses. We have full lens control. You can use box cameras or system cameras with MRMC robotics. You can use, as I said earlier, third-party PTZ cameras, which we also have set up here. And very importantly, you can use a studio robotics. And we're camera agnostic. So as I said earlier, as long as we have a copy of your video feed over NDI, RTSP, or SDI, we can ingest that into our system and work with your existing workflow. Great. Now I've been standing a lot. However, the system also functions really well when you have a chat show and some of your staff are seated. This is basically so that if somebody isn't necessarily media trained, they can still be kept in shot, and you don't have to worry about are they sitting in frame, because the software will take care of this issue for you. If they're on the sofa and they want to get comfortable, the software will reposition the camera to ensure that they're in shot. So as I sit down, I'm sitting on the sofa, I'm really comfortable, nice and wide shot. I'm still being recognized even though I'm not standing, so I don't necessarily, I'm still being recognized. As you can see here, the computer vision engine still picks me up. We can come in on a tight shot. If I'm not media trained, you don't have to worry. I'll reposition myself, the camera knows where I'm going and catches up, and there I am. So your talent, it can be comfortable, like I am right now. Polymotion Chat Studio takes care of the heavy lifting, and you get the shot that you want. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you.
So hopefully that was useful. I think as well, I'd just like to say thank you for Sasha. There's nothing worse than sitting, watching yourself on camera, listening to yourself on camera. Basically, I mean, what we want to do now is give you a chance to ask some questions. Feel free to do this through the chat, or feel free to ask them directly. Hopefully you found this, a kind of useful overview of the system. We're obviously very happy to dive into more detailed demonstrations on an individual basis if you'd like to arrange that separately. But does anyone have any questions now? Is that because we've done such a great job demonstrating it, or is everyone just a bit shy?
Or we've left everybody speechless. Yeah, bonus points for those who recognize the words I invented while demonstrating that in front of the camera. I think there was a couple in there.
So just as I sort of mentioned before, the idea is that the system can fit into pretty much any workflow, essentially with any type of camera, theoretically, and in the end with any type of controller, as well as being easy to use. It's not designed to replace operators. It's designed to do the heavy lifting for an operator, make it simple, and really enable workflows. Having more cameras in a space is something everyone wants to do. But it's difficult often because of the cost, because now in this case of social distancing, how do you do that? The idea here is that actually one operator can manage, we typically would say normally in broadcast, 2 or 3 cameras is the maximum. But we have tier 1 broadcast customers using Polymotion Chat with 5 cameras, because essentially one operator can manage that, because the majority of the heavy lifting is done by the software. And that's a customer that historically always used 3 cameras. They haven't changed their workflow from the perspective of the number of people they have operating. All they've done is use Polymotion Chat to do more. So we have a couple of questions. So Phil's asking the question about taking it virtually to the cloud. So you can remote into the system and control it. One of the things you probably have noticed is the overlay video window, creating the stick figure, is using machine vision, and actually the processing required and the delay and latency for that is critical. So today it's not feasible to run this as a cloud-based service. It is something we've looked at. We've certainly looked at remoting this system, so we can take IP video in as as the video feed from the cameras. And as long as there is extremely low latency from the point of where the video is coming in to the processing server and then back to the head, then that theoretically can work. But we aren't quite at that point for most applications. So I think it'll be a little bit of time before it can be genuinely run in that type of scenario. What we do find customers doing is having the server locally, but then an operator remotely. So the operator can essentially be anywhere, because all the operator is doing is making minor adjustments, maybe just a small adjustment to the framing, or maybe the director wants a very particular shot that isn't set as one of the presets, and going in and making those changes, and that isn't usually an on-air move. So that works extremely well. Well, the next question from Jenny, aimed at news and sport. Could it be used in entertainment? Well, yes, definitely. I mean, actually, the name of the product, Polymotion Chat, comes from the idea of it being used on a chat show initially, and being able to have multiple guests. I mentioned before that each camera can track an individual person. There's no reason it can't be used in other environments. The idea is that we don't have the issues that other tracking systems have, which is the fact that they tend to be facial based. We are building a limb detection model, and that stick figure that you were seeing in the video. So that will work in a lot of other applications. We are already doing some automation within sport, for example, with a slightly different product based around the same technology. And we certainly see other markets for this solution, which we are currently working on sort of test projects for. So I think, yes, it's something like Strictly or an entertainment show like that, it probably could be used. We have had other customers using it, for example, in tennis for various trials. So I don't think something like Strictly or Dancing on Ice or anything like that would be an issue. I mean, it probably needs a little bit of work to test in those environments. Primarily, the presets that we have today are very much around studio workflows, but we do see applications for this in the future in many other areas. Any more questions?
Yeah, I think to follow on from that, Paddy, I think the theaters are also interesting applications where customers are using or considering using it for those theaters, where they want to be able to follow the talent that's on the stage. So we're not really limited by the distance to the subject. You know, obviously the camera and lens make it come into play as well. But yes, all those type of applications we want to cater for.
Okay, thanks. So we have another question from Phil regarding return on investment. The return on investment, it can be extremely quick. So the Polymotion Chat, the 3-head version, has a list price of £15,000, and we do a fairly flat conversion into euros and dollars. And that essentially means that you know, if you're working a 3-camera setup, there's no ongoing costs apart from sort of support, which we, you know, obviously recommend that customers take. But you can pay for this system extremely quickly from the perspective of not having to pay for operators. Generally, we aren't really talking simply in that regard about replacing people. That isn't the primary function of the software. We do have customers that have used it, particularly for things like late night bulletins, where there's often a challenge and camera robotics are not used, or maybe there's a fixed camera for that scenario. And there is a desire to have more interesting camera movements, because in that particular situation, you know, they just don't have the ability, the availability of staff or the budgets to make that work. And obviously this gives you that capability, but primarily it's used to add to existing workflows. So as I said with the example before, you know, a customer that had 3 cameras originally with 1 operator has moved to having 5 cameras because they always wanted 5 cameras, but they couldn't actually have the space to have that number of operators in the studio environment. And Polymotion Chat essentially enables that. But if they were to have that operator would probably be more expensive than the system within maybe 3 or 4 months. So the system would have paid for itself extremely quickly. Any more questions?
Yeah, I'd like to expand on that, because there's use cases where this particular customer is considering using it for 20 cameras that were previously locked off. And because their subjects were moving about quite a lot, they had a problem losing them during previous productions, but they don't have the budget to add 20 operators to control PTZs while everything was going on at the same time. So this is a really very cost-effective way for them to add that motion to make sure that they keep their subjects or the talent in frame without having to go to 20 operators for a production that doesn't actually warrant that many staff, and in which case they would have had almost more operators than they would have had talent there. So it's it makes itself useful very quickly, and the return on investment is definitely there.
So yeah, just on pricing, it's £15,000 for the 3-head system, which is I think €17,500 and $21,000, and then we have a 6-head system. So you can control 6 independent cameras, which I think is £20,000 and €23,000 and $27,500. And we're actually testing at the moment, new hardware that could potentially do more. The key to us is having, a very capable server. As I mentioned, latency and connectivity is really important, but also that hardware is, has to have a dedicated GPU engine as well as a very capable processor. So with regards to MOS support, not specifically MOS, although we do have connectivity to automation systems. So if you're using a newsroom system, then yes, we absolutely can be triggered our presets. As I mentioned, we've got support for. We've got customers using Overdrive, MOSART, and many others, and pretty much any industry standard broadcast automation system could be configured to work with our solution, Polymotion Chat.
Yeah, so also the server client configuration comes into play here, because the API suite, we can make various calls to the server from a separate system, allowing you to integrate that into the workflow, or even start the tracking remotely, which is part of the key features of the Studio product.
Any more questions? I mean, I'll restate, we're very happy to arrange one-to-one demos, obviously remotely at the moment, but obviously in the future we can do this directly. So if you think of any questions or anything else you want to sort of raise with us in the future, feel free to email us. Bubble obviously can provide you with the contact details. yeah, if you think of something maybe this evening or tomorrow or over the weekend, then yeah, just get in contact. Okay, I think on that. Press kit. Okay, I'm going to have to hand you over to Dan or Bubble for that question, I'm afraid.
Yes, obviously we'll issue you with full press kits on Monday. We'll be sending everything across to everyone with the press release. There'll be a set of images, and the website's live already as well. So if you want to go onto the MRMC website, onto the Polymotion Chat page, there's some more details as well as the videos that you've seen today. But we'll send out all the relevant links, press releases, images, and everything else on Monday as part of a full kit. Great. Okay, well, thanks everyone. I really appreciate your time today. And yeah, we look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again.